So my left hand does not belong. Has been that way for my entire life. Even a wind blowing on the hairs on the back of the hand pretty much stops me doing whatever I'm doing.
We've gone to elaborate lengths to disguise Michael's identity. Only his wife and his doctors are aware of his problem.
I've kept it to myself my whole life. I used to forge notes from my mother to get out of PE and sport if it was an activity that would mean that I had to use the hand.
Dr. Chris Ryan has known Michael for 8 years.
People with BID now feel that some part of their body really isn't theirs. They know it is, but they feel that it shouldn't be. They feel this intensely, and the ongoing presence of that part of their body is very, very distressing for them.
Michael says he's consulted a dozen different doctors and the diagnosis is always the same.
They told me it was all in my head, and that if I just use the hand, it would go away.
I'm pretty clear that it's almost certainly a neurological disorder. It sounds very neurological, and we know that there's a neurological system that tells you where your body begins and ends, and it seems like this is a malfunctioning of that system.
Dr. Ryan says he's only been consulted in around 10 cases of BID. He knew very little about it until he was contacted about a patient on a TV show.
Will you please welcome Robert Vickers?
Robert had an amazing story to tell.
And ever since I was a child, way before 10 years old, I imagined that I only had one leg. Specifically, that my left leg had been amputated above the knee.
To be honest, I didn't know anything about it either, really, so I had to do a bit of research and look it all up, and it became apparent that this was definitely a thing.
Robert Vickers was about 30 when he put his leg into dry ice, hoping to damage it so much that it would be amputated. But surgeons saved his leg.
At the hospital, thought, well, if this fella's trying to destroy his leg, he must be psychotic. So if we can treat his psychosis and cure him of that, fix his leg so he can walk again, you'll be forever grateful. But neither treatment worked because neither treatment was appropriate. I wasn't psychotic and I didn't want the leg.
Self-harm has always been present in my mind. I took a knife and attempted to cut through the skin around my wrist, but only got part way before the pain was too much.
My experience, and the literature matches this, is that it's much more common legs than arms. It actually also tends to be, I think, left side rather than right side. The striking thing about the people that come is they are all normal people. There is nothing unusual about them, except they really, really feel they need to have an amputation because it's so unpleasant for them.
For 3 years, Michael tried every treatment imaginable.
We tried antipsychotic medications, we tried hypnotism, we tried immersion therapy.
We'd done everything that we could short of amputation that might be useful. Amputation is a pretty big step, and also I don't think many surgeons rightly are going to amputate somebody's arm unless everything else has been done.
Not using the hand has meant that I have been disabled my entire life.
Body Integrity Dysphoria isn't a recognised disability under the NDIS, but if Michael did become an amputee, he could get help, and maybe even a prosthetic hand.
So Michael's case went to the ethics board in the hospital. It was their view that the benefits of this clearly outweighed the harms, and it was not only reasonable to go ahead, but it was probably the right thing to do.
With a surgeon approved in a public hospital, the amputation Michael wanted was ready to go, until COVID cancelled all non-essential operations. Then, just weeks ago, Michael heard the surgeon was retiring.
And that my only option was to pay thousands of dollars to have it done privately.
As for Robert Vickers, he was 41 when he placed his leg in dry ice again. This time, surgeons had no alternative but to amputate.
When you awoke from that operation, what did you feel?
Oh, bloody brilliant. Look under the bedclothes, under the sheets, and, you know, my left leg had been reduced to this tiny little bandage stump. It was what I'd dreamed of for the last 30-odd years.
How much did it change you?
Well, I no longer felt I was pretending. You know, I had to sort of pretend all my life that everything was normal. Well, now suddenly it was normal.
I'd appreciate it if a surgeon or a hospital in the Sydney area could come forward and potentially offer me their services.
I will say that everybody that I've met that has had an amputation, the thing that they all say is, I only wish I'd had it earlier.
If the surgery happens, the rest of my life will change for the better. I can see my depression fading away and becoming a more cheerful person.
What a striking use of the term pretending there.
Yeah.
Just pretending that this is going to be okay, life's going to be okay, I can live with this thing that is, in my mind, is telling me is all wrong, and in every single other facet of my life, I'm normal. Yeah. It was fascinating.
Yeah, because on the surface, he was like, how can that even be? And to try and find a doctor to take off a perfectly healthy limb, because, doctors do no harm, but if it's a neurological condition that is going to go a long way to help them.
But it's hard to ask a surgeon to solve a neurological condition by, it's just...
And would he get a prosthetic hand? Would he want a prosthetic hand to replace at the end?
Correct. So it seems to be the actual hand. It's not the location or anything. It's just...
It's not a hand, it's this hand.
Yeah, just this hand.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that not having it anymore would be considered a mercy for him.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary situation. If that story's raised any concerns for you or someone you know, you can contact Lifeline. 13 11 14 is the number there, or Beyond Blue on 1300 22 4636.